have with me Mr. Dilip Sawhney. Dilip is the managing director of Rockwell Automation India, and he's been leading Rockwell for the last over a decade now.
Yes, more than that.
More than that, and he's seen a lot of ups and downs. Of course, with Rockwell, but he's seen a lot of ups and downs in the industry. I think a lot has happened over the last 10 years. And before coming to Rockwell, he brings in a rich experience of working in multiple industries, also working in multiple countries. So we're going to talk to him today about a lot of this, and I'm sure each one of you who are watching in today are going to love hearing what we have to talk. So Dilip, any opening remarks, anything that you want to share with us before I start shooting what I have in my mind?
Well, I don't know what all you have in mind, but I want to just I just want to say that it's always a unique experience and a unique privilege to come and visit Pima. Mm-hmm. Pima and Rockwell go back a very long time. Mm-hmm. Pima was officially the very first partner of any kind that our company signed up in India.
That's true.
So it's a special relationship.
That's true.
And the business has
something we treasure, right? And
yeah,
we talk about it all the time.
Yeah. And I'm also delighted to see the manner in which the transition has happened from Madhukar Bhai now to both yourself and Pravit. So I've enjoyed seeing how you all have become, successful professionals leading your business to new heights. I've seen the business grow, and I've seen our mutual business grow as well. So yeah, it's a special feeling, and I enjoyed the opportunity to interact with the team today.
Yeah, and the feeling is mutual. We couldn't have grown without the support, help, not just professionally, but even at the personal level. I think a lot of Rockwell, executives, including yourself, has mentored us at various stages, and I think that has all been pivotal to where we are today. So again, thank you for visiting us and taking time out.
Delighted.
So Dilip, just a quick question. You have been in this industry for what, 25 years now, 30 years?
More than that, close 3 decades.
3 decades,
yes,
30 years.
Yeah.
Tell us how things changed.
Well, you're making me feel very old right now all of a sudden. Yeah, but things have changed dramatically, right? I think one thing which I've come to realize, it's a cliche, but you come to realize when a personal realization sets in, gosh, change is indeed the only constant, right? And you just need to prepare yourself here that more change is going to happen more frequently, right? So one is that. The other thing is the kind of things that we are doing right now. I think it's a unique point in time to be a professional in this industry, any industry for that matter, at this point in time in India, because the world is waking up to India. That there is more to India than just IT outsourcing, much more to it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's been outstanding, right? I would also say that the manner in which the forces of technology and digital are reshaping entire industries, physical industries, right? So we not only have a ringside view to that, we have an insider's view to that, right? And it's been a unique privilege, right? Both from an organizational perspective to help our customers through all the change that is going on, but also from a personal perspective as well. Yeah.
So I remember about I think a little more than 10 years back, Rockwell used to talk about multi-domain or multifunctional, multidisciplinary control systems. And today I think everything is multidisciplinary, right? So today, whether you talk of digital technology or a digital economy, or whether you talk about deep tech, or you talk about cyber security, I think all of that is kind of merging into one. And while of course there is a lot of opportunity there, but do you see a lot of threat around that as well? To somebody who has been incumbent player over here?
So when you talk about being an incumbent player, we are a 120-year-old company. Mm-hmm. As you know, we are celebrating 40th year here in India.
Wow.
So yeah, so it is, we don't treat ourselves as incumbents, right? We treat this as being a tremendous learning and an opportunity to experience, right? Which is unique because nothing can substitute that. Part of the reason why, and this is feedback that I get from customers all the time, right, is in a large measure the reason they prefer to work with us is owing to the fact that we have knowledge about their industry, their processes, the special way by which they produce whatever it is that they produce. We have deep insights into that, so we can actually help them tackle their challenges. And that comes in because of years of experience, right? You may call it as being the incumbents, or being, to use an often used term, incumbency factor. But all the same, I don't think, so that's one reason why we feel that this is an advantage as opposed to being a threat. I go back to the original comment I made, is that change really is the only constant, and the pace of change is ever increasing, right? And if you cannot really accept or adapt yourself, in your mindset to that change, then you're in big trouble, right? But then change was there. We are living in Industry 4.0. Some talk about Industry 5.0.
Yeah, there are talks about
we are living in those times. If you go back to when Industry 1.0 was happening, there was exactly the same talk that was going on, because something was disrupting, right? At that point in time, it was steam, right? And how jobs are going to get eliminated. This is not a new narrative, right? It was just going on all at the same time there. But see what has happened. Those who decide that they're going to adapt themselves to a new disruptive change that has occurred and actually use it to their advantage to solve newer problems faster, more creatively, and create a competitive edge for themselves, they will thrive. And those who just go into their shell thinking that this is going to be the end of the world, it indeed turns out to be the end of the world for them.
So again, coming back to talk same, I think the answer would be pretty similar. But there's a lot of talk about AI today, and many of us. So there are two narratives about AI which is going on in the market. One is a threatening. People are losing jobs. People are going to be redundant. AI is taking over. And there's another school of thought which keeps saying AI is here to assist us to do better, and how can we leverage the technology that AI brings onto the table and build systems on top of that AI that could help us help the globe be a better world to be in. Your comments, or which side do you see our industrial automation industry?
Thanks for that question. And without being too long, what I'm going to try and do is I'll take the AI part away for a second, and I'll talk about what's going on in the world, right? And then I'll bring the AI thing back, right? So first of all, if you really look at it, what's been going on? I mean, forgetting about even the last 3 years where we've seen an enormous amount of change that has gone through, lives in the world around us. Supply chains have been disrupted, whatnot, right? But even over a longer time period, let's say the last decade thereabouts, right? There is the geopolitics has been shifting around us, right? It's becoming very evident that the manner in which we've practiced, the way we live and work, right, and produce, etc., is unsustainable, right? So, and now it is a stark reality that is staring right at you in the face, right? And then at the same time, accessing raw materials is becoming harder and harder, right? Accessing talent is becoming harder and harder. The next generation of talent and workforce, their aspirations are totally different, which conventional, particularly the manufacturing industry, doesn't relate to. And the list goes on, right? Point I'm trying to say is, on the one hand, competition is becoming more and more intense and global. And on the other hand, what it takes for you to produce something and produce it at high quality and at a lower cost structure that is becoming harder and harder. The game of manufacturing in particular is becoming very complex, right? Now, you can continue to try and crank the sort of productivity machine and see how you can extract one more drop of juice out of it, right? Or you can adopt a different way by which you can deal with that complexity, right? What is that different way? That different way is really adopting all of these new age technologies, AI being one of them, right? To cut through complexity, to drive simplification, to bring about a new way of doing things.
Is that what they call smart manufacturing? Or?
Yeah, smart manufacturing is, a
little of all of this.
Exactly, yeah. And technology is an element of that, right? But smart manufacturing is a little broader than that, and we can talk about that a little later. Technology really is at the core, right? And now let's talk about AI, right? So, first thing I want to say is it's a relatively new term in our vernacular, right? But things like, back when your dad would have started the business, cement was a big industry for you guys.
Yeah.
Now tell me, when did you for the first time hear the word fuzzy logic?
Fuzzy logic, yeah.
When did you hear it for the first time?
So, when I was in college, we used to it was like all these blind people would sit and try to be authority and define what fuzzy logic is without any clear definition, right?
Correct.
So it was like as if it's some God mind that knows how the process is going to behave and has all the answers on how to keep the process in control. And that's how we used to debate sitting in our hostel rooms as to what fuzzy logic was all about.
Correct. And at the same time, Vineet, fuzzy logic was being deployed by cement manufacturers in particular, because I'm personally familiar since I visited, a couple of decades or 25 plus years ago. It is nothing really but predicting basis, learning from the past data, historical data, making predictions about what the state of the process is going to be, and sometimes intervening even ahead of time, right? Now, so the concept has been there. What has happened now is it's been made hugely accessible.
Right.
Right. The second thing is it's become immensely more powerful. Right. And we are just beginning to understand
a lot more data points, right?
A lot more data.
It
is all about data and insights. It's all about data and insights, and it's going to enable you to do a whole lot of things, which previously were, even if they were technically possible, but they were not really accessible, right? So, and we are only beginning to understand what the use cases are. It's solving so many problems. We hear about, what the government of India has been doing. There's a program around linguistics. It's called Bhashini.
Okay.
Yeah, you should look it up. Right, it's already implemented, right, which allows you any Indian language, a language-based medium to access government services.
Okay.
And it uses all of these sophisticated tools like AI and whatnot to achieve that. Point I'm trying to make is there is a lot of complexity around us, but technology, if used well, can help you address. Right? Now that's one way of looking at it. Going back to what you were commenting, should we be feeling excited about it? Should we be feeling threatened about it? I think the jury is still out. The world is divided. There are those who are absolutely excited and thrilled, cannot wait to have more, and then there are others who are absolutely seeing this as the doomsday.
Predicting a doomsday.
Yeah, right. I would say that technology, once it's ushered in, brings about an irreversible change. My own personal point of view is, I would say that technology is evolving right here in front of our eyes, right? Aided by us, right? And what we should do is we should prepare ourselves that technology ends up helping solve the problems that we have. and there's a good policy framework that's created which guides the way. It can only create some guardrails. If you can do that, I think it'll be very useful for us, right? So policies have a huge role to make, but at the same time, how many policy makers have gotten even an inkling of an understanding of this kind of a technology? You can either wait to bring them up to speed on this, but by that time the technology would have seen two revolutions,
change,
right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting times that we are living through. But when we talk about AI, one of the things which has to be, like you and I spoke, AI, machine learning, it feeds off of historical data. And historical data, if you really analyze who the people who are contributing to that data, there is heavy imbalance in that. There is a heavy geographical imbalance. There is a heavy gender imbalance. Males contributing a lot more than females, for example. There may be, even in certain cases, a heavy generational imbalance as well, right? And if your models are trained with imbalance in the data, then they could have a tendency to give a biased output, right?
Yeah.
And we need to avoid these kinds of things.
It's a new perspective.
So it is indeed,
great point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So following up on that, Dilip, there are a lot of new generations, coming into the industry. There used to be a time where, an instrumentation engineer would get into automation centric or a process centric, industry. A computers or a computer science engineer would get into, an electrical engineer would get into electrical or power, and those kind. Now those silos have been vanished, right? So there is a need for computer engineers by companies, automation companies. There is a need for automation engineers by the IT companies. We know of Infosys and all these companies hiring, automation and instrumentation engineers. So now there is no clear silos as to what kind of discipline actually goes into which kind of companies to work for. So what is your advice for people who are getting into college or people who are moving out of college and want to make their careers generally starting with technology and then moving on to a little bit of managerial position and hopefully someday landing up with a senior executive position of a significant company, creating a larger impact to the industry. So what kind of suggestions or thoughts do you have on that?
Sure. So Vineet, I agree with you. So go back a couple of decades, it was not only that certain kinds of disciplines were being hired by certain kinds of industries, but it was also, what used to also happen was you would join a company wanting to retire from the company, right? That was the mindset. That mindset is extinct in the new generation. This is literally the gig economy. People really want to get an experience of, I'm going to try multiple things and I'm going to find out what really appeals to my inner core, right? And this generation likes to do that, right? And if you don't recognize it, then it's going to be, as an employer, it's going to be to your detriment, or as an organization, right? And if you do recognize it, then we have to think as to how do we continue to keep them excited and engaged and be a part of the organization while whetting their appetite for doing multiple things. So I think one is that generational thing which has changed, right? But I want to bust the notion of what you were saying, that if you're an instrumentation engineer, you had to be working for, say, an automation company or a process company, etc. I'll tell you, these days, I wouldn't say that in very big numbers, but there is a very heavy bias within my organization for sure, for us to go out and actively bring in people who are process engineers, chemical engineers, or for some mechatronics work that we do, which we do quite a lot of, as you know, right? People who got mechatronics and mechanical engineering background. If you look at our management trainees, So when we are going out and we are actively looking, we prefer to hire engineers and MBAs, right? But we are looking for people who, as their engineering background, had chemical or mechanical or process, that kind of an engineering. Why? Because the narrative has shifted for companies like ours, mine in particular, is the narrative has long shifted from us wanting to sell our technology to us solving the customer's problems. So that means you have to have an ability, you have to have empathy for what's going on in the customer's life. You got to be dialed into their wavelength, right? And we feel that this is really making a lot of sense because you're able to speak the customer's language, you're able to understand them better, you're able to make yourself more easily understood by them, right, etc. So one is that point, that we ourselves are, I can't tell you how many chemical engineers that I have in my organization right now, and so these are most sought after, not just by our customers but within the organization as well, because they've lived both the worlds, right?
Yep.
So that's one point. Now, talking about people who are starting their careers, and if you permit me, I'll speak only about our industry, right? And an organization like ours, my own point of view is, particularly for people who are starting their careers right now, new generation of workforce, right, who are very creative and they are itching to do more, right? This is one industry where you can come in and get exposed to so many different industries at the same time. Why? Because you're pretty relevant to so many industries, because you're helping solve the problems of so many industries. You get to have an insider's point of view of what's going on. What are the macro trends that are impacting a multitude of industries, right? It's a privilege, to say the least, to get that kind of a view of forces that are shaping our economy. And the
I
forces,
know, but for example, in our company, during a week, you are calling on, a food and beverage company, a pharmaceutical company, a utilities, or an infrastructure company, and that is the kind of breadth of industries that we work in, and that's a opportunity, as well as sometimes it becomes too diverse, but that's an opportunity to learn across different sectors.
Absolutely, and sometimes you end up being the cross-pollinator of best practices, not just from one sector to one company to another, but from one industry to another.
True.
So crossover solutions, right? Something which may come out of just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, I was talking to someone, an esteemed solution partner of ours, and we were talking about sort of crossing over a solution which was born in the agro and dairy industry, taking it all the way across to asset tracking in oil and gas industry. How about that? Right? And you have the ability to do that is because you have a very wide exposure. You have the opportunity to solve so many different problems. So if that's what is what gets your creative juices flowing, this is a very unique. This is a good place to be at. Yeah.
True. Now, moving further, what do you think should be the role of partners in this kind of industry? I know Rockwell believes a lot in partnership. I think you don't have a web page on Rockwell Automation without talking about the partner network. And so first of all, tell me a little bit about partner network, and for a country like India, how does that bring relevance?
Sure. So where do I start from? See, partnering runs in our DNA.
True.
We believe, as proud as we are about our technology, which really is special because we're really focused, but things that have really given us enduring long-term success over the 120 years of our journey, and looking ahead several decades. What has given us this success is our ability, or our temperament, to work through partnerships. Our partner network is very evolved, is also very nuanced. it recognizes that there are different personas of partners that you need to work with. There are partners that you work with, like the relationship that we have, which is you're a Rockwell authorized distributor for a large area of the country, right? A natural market, right? And that's a different kind of a relationship than a relationship that we'll have with a solutions-oriented company like a systems integrator, or a machinery builder like an OEM partner, right? Or for example, we have a number of technology companies who have complementary solutions, but our two solutions, Rockwell's and our partners, working together can unlock new value for our customers. So what we tend to do is we do the unlock ahead of time. We prove the solution, right? Certify it in our environments, and then we take a proven solution to a client. So technology partners, right? Just to cite a few examples, right? Now, let's just sort of boil it down to its basics, right? As proud as we are of our technology, we know that one company, you could be very good in a few things, in a few areas. But if you want to be really very good in a number of industries across the globe, one company cannot do it all. You really just must find like-minded partners who can complement, your strengths with new strengths that they have, and make yourselves relevant to either a new industry, make yourselves relevant to a new geography, right? Etc., etc., etc. We firmly believe in that. We've been having, our approach to partnering runs at a minimum 6 to 8 decades, if not any longer, right? And I feel privileged that I had the opportunity to help evolve and mature our partner network here in India, right? Well, it's taken us a long time, and we're still going strong. But I attribute a lot of our success to the approach that we've had, which I think is pretty unique, at least within our industry.
So tell me something about your experience with Pima and how you've seen Pima evolve over time, and if there's any message for our viewers or even for the company through me, we would love to know that.
Well, that's where I started from, right? It's where did it all start? So, you all have a special place in Rockwell Automation's India journey. You were the very first partner for us, right? So I think that it was a different kind of a relationship then. We did not have distributor program at that point in time. So, so you were a solution provider at that point, but you evolved because you were exposed to what Rockwell does globally, right? And
that's also thanks to Rockwell, because they had a lot of different programs where we had excursions, where we traveled the globe, we traveled to different mature distributors, understood models which were successful in some of the mature markets, and how do we bring parts of that, because I know we can't bring that completely, but how do we bring part of that back home here in India and roll that out, not just to the benefit of Pima or Rockwell, but actually to the benefit of the customer.
Yeah, and Vineet, we have not only learned, but we started to give back. What do I mean by that? Is partners like you and others, Indian origin companies that were Rockwell partners in India, are now being actively tapped by my colleagues in other geographies to have you all come in and become distribution partners in new geographies.
That's true.
Places like Morocco, places like Kenya, other places in Middle East and some other geographies. And I see that, so that points towards
that's also the endorsement of what Rockwell India has put out, and as I said,
and I use that as a surrogate of the journey that we've been on. We were learning, and we had a learning mindset, and we learned quite a lot from mature markets. But I think we've crossed a few milestones now, and now our partners like yourselves, you are now working with Rockwell in multiple geographies.
That's
right?
true.
So that's that. But I think the secret sauce for Rockwell to work with its distribution partners is when we bring partners on board, right? Because I spoke about the fact that partnering runs in our DNA. If you look at really the very core of our partners, distributors and our solution partners and the systems integrators, it's a very tight-knit community. And I call this community as, in a broader sense, the Rockwell enterprise, right? Because it has to work and function like an enterprise. There has to be that degree of trust within, right? Which is really the secret sauce and the fabric that runs across, right? And we work together so the value of the entire enterprise rises, right? And sometimes that requires you to do things which may be not as value added for you, but you know that you're doing it for the broader good of the enterprise, right? And likewise us, right? I mean, there are oftentimes, there would be a Rockwell person having a conversation about Pima without anyone from Pima being in the room.
True.
Right?
Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah.
It happens, and vice versa, right? So the lines really blur, right? And there is that trust and transparency that has to be there. When we work with our distribution partners, we identify a natural market, and then we take all choices out from us, right? Is we work with that distributor and that distributor works with us, so that we don't have to figure out, okay, on Mondays I'm going to be moving around with this distributor, and Tuesdays it's going to be this, and Wednesday someone else. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It is you take your choices out, you commit yourselves towards genuinely developing that market for the good of the customers in that market and for the good of the two organizations.
No, I think from my side, I think the beauty about working with Rockwell is a clear definition of the methods of how business is done, and the transparency with which the people work. And I think that's something that is like a waterfall that comes from the top. I think people work with a lot of transparency when they're sitting in front of the customer, when they're sitting in front of a distributor, and the honesty of purpose in whatever they're delivering is very high. And I think working with many companies across industries, I'm not just talking about automation, I think that level of integrity, commitment that we see in Rockwell and the Rockwell enterprise, which is again we learn a lot from Rockwell, is phenomenal, and I think that is respected by the customer as well. And I think this is one of the key reasons why many companies choose to work with Rockwell and the Rockwell enterprise, even though at times it may not be the most financially logical choice, or may not be the cheapest choice, or sometimes they have to wait a little longer to get those products, but they still believe in working with the Rockwell enterprise for many of these reasons.
No, thanks for that feedback, and I completely concur with you, right? And if we cannot bring value through that, then we must introspect and figure out what part of the ecosystem is not functioning well, and work towards improving, right? Yeah.
So Dilip, thank you. I still have a long laundry list of questions that
that only means that we have an episode 2.
We need to have an episode.
Maybe I'll have a chance to be invited back.
Yeah, you're always invited. Or if you don't take time out, maybe I'll jump into your office.
That'll be great too.
To take a bite from you. But I think it's been a pleasure. We spent a whole day together today, and it's been a great learning experience, not just for me, but our entire team. They are excited. You were kind enough to answer some of their questions about how they see themselves working for Pima, working with Rockwell as a partner. And I think we are very excited for what the future has in store. India is an exciting place to be. Gujarat is even more exciting within India.
Hands down.
And we are lucky to be here. And we just want a large piece of the cake. So let's go out, roll up our sleeves, and start helping customers.
You said it.
Thank you once again. I hope to see you back again.
My pleasure. Look, so within this broader Rockwell enterprise that I explained, right, the lines really blur. When I'm here today, and I had a lot of conversations with people at Pima, employees. And the message I was giving to them is, yeah, you may be wearing a Pima logo, right? But together we are here to serve the customers here in this part of the country, and we work as one team. The lines blur. You're working for Pima, but you're really working for the broader Rockwell enterprise in that sense. And just have that confidence that you have the entire support of the broader Rockwell organization behind you as you go out over there and do the good things for your customers. Thank you.